Welcome back. This is Mr. Cisneros. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to assemble the Automata. We've modeled all 11 parts and we are ready to put it together. So I'm going to show you in this video how to make the assembly for the Automata. Before continuing on with this video, do make sure that you have all 11 parts of the Automata modeled out. They are saved as IPTs in your Google Drive. If you're not sure which 11 parts need to be modeled, take a look at the drawing file that's on Schoology. It'll show you every single one with dimensions. So that'll help you model them out. All right, so to start, we're going to go by clicking on New. Well, obviously, we'll have Inventor open, but we'll click on New. And I'm going to make sure I'm in my English folder so it can be set to inches for the unit. And then I'm going to click on Standard Inch IAM. I'm going to click Create. And the very first thing that we know already is that we need to bring in all of our parts in. If that's a little overwhelming for you, you don't like having all of those parts all at once, you can go one by one. That is fine as well. For me, I like to bring them all in at the same time just so I don't have to continue clicking on the place button up here. And that's actually where we're going to start. So I'm going to click on this place button. If for whatever reason it says place from content center, just hit this drop down arrow and then you can click on place. But since mine shows up here, I can just click on this big button and I'm going to bring in every single part that I need. You can see right here in my Automata 2021 folder, I have every single part. So I'm going to click Control or press Control on my keyboard, and that's going to allow me to select multiple parts all at the same time so I can bring them in all at the same time. It's a nice shortcut. So I can click on Big Dowel Rod, Crank, Follower Guide, Handle, the bottom panel, front panel, side panel, top panel. My oval cam is the one that I'm going to be using, small dowel rod, and I think that is it. So once I have all 11 selected, I can click Open. You'll notice that all of the parts get attached to my cursor. In order to place them, all I have to do is click. And when I click, you'll see that the parts are still attached to my cursor. I can actually place the parts again if I want to. And I'm actually going to, because a lot of these parts we need multiple of. We need duplicates. So I'm going to go ahead and click Place. Click to Place. And now you'll see it's still attached. To get rid of this, I can right click and then go to Cancel. Now you'll notice that there are some parts that we don't need two of. So I'm going to go ahead and delete those. I don't need a second top panel. I don't need a second big dowel rod. The bottom panel I don't need either. Front, we only need one of as well. Right side, left side, we do need two of, so that's good. And I think that is it. All right, so everything else is good. I'm just going to kind of organize myself by kind of dragging these dowel rods together, dragging these guys over here kind of together. Because this is a 3D environment, sometimes you think you're moving things close together, but they're really not. It depends on the X, Y, and Z axis that they're actually being moved to. But for now, this kind of looks like they're all grouped up. And that's what I want, because what I want to do really quick is change this transparent. This is hard for me to see, so I'm just going to click on Shift on the keyboard to select more than one of these parts. And I'm just going to quickly change them to a color that makes it so I can see it a little bit better. So I'm just going to click Cadet Blue here. That's a lot better for me to see, and we'll leave those over there. Right now I want to make my focus, I want to put my focus towards these panels, because this is what I'm going to start assembling first. When I click on this one, I can see that it gets highlighted over here. That's the front part. That's actually what I do want to ground first. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to Grounded as it's selected, right? I click on it to select, right click, Grounded. Now I can't move that. That's good. That's going to help me so that I can assemble everything properly. The very first part that I'm going to constrain to this front panel is going to be my top and my bottom. So I'm going to go to Constrain. I'll start with the bottom part, and I'm going to do just mate and flushes for this box. That's all I really need in order to fully constrain the box. So I'm going to start with my bottom panel. I'm going to do a mate I'm going to click on this top edge face, and I'm going to mate it with this face of my front panel. So there's my second click. You can hear that sound that lets you know that it did successfully mate that. I can click apply, and then the next two are going to be flush constraints. So I'm going to click on flush over here, and then I'm going to click on this edge and this edge. That makes it so those are flush with one another. Click apply, and then one more flush for the bottom of this face, and then right here this edge. So those two will be flush with one another. That's good. Click apply, and then we can close this box and we can move on to the top panel. I'm going to go over to the top panel and do pretty much the exact same thing. One mate and then two flush constraints. So very first thing I'm going to click on is this face of this edge, and I'm going to mate that to this face of this front panel. There it is. Click apply, and then again two flush constraints. So I'm going to click on here and this edge. That's flush, good. And then I'm going to flush this top with this top edge. There it is. Click apply. I can close this. I can move on now to my right side, left side. So I'm going to go to constraint again. This time I believe I'm going to need two mates and one flush for these right side, left sides. And I'm going to start with a mate. So I'm going to click on this edge here, and I'm going to orbit over to this face. I'm going to mate those two together. There you go, that looks good. I'm going to click apply. Next thing that I can do is I can mate once more. I'm going to mate this edge with the bottom of my top panel. So right here, this surface. There you go. Looks like that fits perfectly. That's good. We have good dimensions. Apply, and then one more flush constraint. And that's going to be this surface here with any one of these edges from the top, front, or bottom. So this edge looks good to me. Click on that and apply. We have just one more panel to put. It's going to be pretty much the exact same thing. Two mate constraints and then a flush. So over here, I'm kind of just orbiting right here. That's going to be mated with this surface right here. There we go. Apply. One more mate constraint. This edge with the bottom of my top panel right here, this surface. Click. There it is. Apply, and then one more flush. So right here, make sure you click on flush. Don't leave it as mate. That'll mess it up. So we switch over to flush, this surface, and then again with any one of these edges here. So I'm going to click on this one now. There we go. Apply. We have our box completely put together, fully constrained too. If I try to move any of these panels, they are frozen there, right? They're fully constrained. All degrees of freedom have been eliminated. And you can see kind of like my cams and all my other parts are kind of going all over the place. That's all right. What we're going to be doing now is we're going to be constraining our big dowel rod, which is this guy right here, big dowel rod with our cranks. And our cranks, we can see we have square holes there. So we're going to be using a mate constraint to put those in there. Once we have the crank either on either side, kind of like this, I'm going to flip this one over, but kind of like this, then we'll be able to insert it into these holes. Please make sure you do it in that order. If you put the cranks in the holes first, it's just going to make it more difficult for you to insert or mate this big dowel rod into those square holes. So please make sure that you add the cranks onto the dowel rod first. That's going to be the same case for the followers on the small dowel rods. So I'm going to go to constrain. I'm going to click on, make sure it's mate, and I'm going to go and mate, let's do this surface here, this end of the dowel rod. That's going to be mated with the inside of this square hole. So that back surface, that back wall. I'm going to click there. You can see it snaps on. That's good. And I'm going to click apply. And then what I like to do is I actually like to move the dowel rod out of the way so I can clearly see what still needs to be constrained, and we need another mate constraint right here to right here. There we go. Apply. And again, I like to move this, and you can see I have one more degree of freedom that I need to get rid of, and that's going to be a constraint, a mate constraint, this surface with this surface. You can see that right here. There it is, apply. And now that's fully constrained. On this end, we want to do the same thing with this crank. So I'll start by going to constrain, clicking on this end of the dowel rod, going to the back wall of that square hole on the crank. There we go, that looks good. Click apply. Again, move the big dowel rod out of the way so you know what constraints you still need. I'm going to go to this edge here. That's going to be mated with this wall right here. Click apply. And I'm going to, again, move this down, and I just need to know, what am I going to click on? I'm going to click on this surface, orbit, so then I can reach this, this wall of our square hole. Click apply. And now we've fully constrained those cranks to the big dowel rod. While we're at it, why don't we go ahead and insert this now to the side holes. So the way we do that is actually with a brand new kind of constraint. That's going to be called insert. So if I go to insert here and I hover over this crank on this side and I click on this part of the crank, if I go onto the front, that actually might not work. So we're going to go ahead and click on this circle outline of the crank, and that's going to be inserted to this hole. Be careful here because you can accidentally click one or the other. Click on the outside circle that shows up here. So that's what I'm going to click on as my second click. And there we go. It moves it all the way over. Let's go to kind of like a home button here and then orbit around so we can see. Oh, we got some parts kind of all over the place. So, oh, you know what? I didn't click accept or apply. Let's try that again. So if you missed it, here we go again. I'm going to go to constrain. I'm going to go to insert. We're going to click on this part of our crank. We're going to go over to our box, and this outside circle that shows up, that's what we're going to click on. There it is. I'm going to click apply this time. There we go. And it looks like I got some parts all over the place. So I'm going to kind of try to drag these a little bit closer if I can, just so that we're not losing ourselves here. If this happens to you, again, you can try to just click and drag them a little bit closer. Hopefully that helps. If you go to like a 2D view here, that'll help you kind of bring them all really close. If you're in a 3D view, it just makes things a little bit harder to kind of see exactly where they are, depending on, you know, the X, Y, and Z. So there we go, and then I can just go to the right side and you can see that they are getting a little bit closer together. Now if I go to a home view, it looks like we can now move on to, let's say, the guides. The guides, they do look upside down, but with an insert tool, we can actually, or insert constraint, we can actually flip them over. So I'm going to go to constrain here, and I'm going to do insert again. With insert, we can go and click on, kind of similar to the crank, we're going to click on this circle here that shows up for us, and then I'm going to insert it in here to this outside circle that shows up when I hover over this hole. There it is. Do apply, and I'm going to do the exact same thing with this one. Again, I'm going to hover over this part of my guide, click over to this hole, the outside circle that shows up when I hover over, and there it is, apply. Now, we want to get rid of this rotational movement here. We don't want that to rotate when the crank makes the followers move up and down. So what we can do to eliminate that rotational movement is adding an angle constraint. And you can see I actually have these planes showing on the guide. So the way we can have the planes show up, all we have to do is double click one of them. Doesn't matter which one, but you can double click it. And that opens up the IPT. You can see return shows up here. If we want to get out of the IPT, you could always click return. But we want to be in it right now because we want to make the one of the planes here visible. So if I go over here to origin, you can see the guide is open. You can see the white background here rather than the gray background. That lets you know that this is the one that is open. We can go to origin, and you can see right here I have the YZ visibility turned on, and you can turn that on as well by right clicking and then going to visibility. Once you do that, then you can go to return, and we can use that plane to our advantage by adding an angle constraint. So here's how you do it. We can go to constrain, we can go to angle, I can click on the plane of the guide, and I can click on, oh, it looks like I did something by accident. Let me close out of this, cancel, and try that one more time. I think I clicked on both planes. And you know what? I think that actually, no, let's do it this way, just because I'm not sure if that's going to work. I'm going to go to constrain, I'm going to go to angle, and I'm going to click on this plane. And then I'm going to click on this inner wall, because I want those to be parallel with one another. And then last but not least, I'm going to click on directed angle. Directed angle, and then I can just leave it as 0 degrees for the angle. Click OK or click apply. And that degree of freedom, that rotational degree of freedom, should no longer be there. I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side. So I'm going to have directed angle selected. I'm going to click on this plane. I'm going to click on this inner wall, leave it at 0, and then click apply. So now if we go and check, can I rotate this? No. So that's good. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to, let's insert these handles here before we lose them. They're really tiny. Let's insert those into the crank. So I'm going to go to constrain, insert. This is going to be real easy. Click on this part of the handle, and we're going to insert it to the inside circle here that shows up. You'll see that sometimes, depending on where you click with the handle, this actually might be backwards or in the opposite direction. You see it's going the wrong way. It's an easy fix. All you got to do is choose aligned instead of opposed. So click on aligned here, and then you can see it pops out. That's good. Click apply, and then close the box. We can do the exact same thing with the other handle. Insert, click on let's click on this one, and then click on that inside right there. Click aligned, and there it is. So that's been inserted. That's good. Let's kind of test this out. Looks like it's working pretty good. Okay. Yep, both of them are moving. That's good. Now we can mate our little dowel rods to our followers. It's going to be very similar to how we did it with the crank and the big dowel rod. It's all just going to be mate. So if we go to mate, I can start by inserting the dowel rod into the square hole by mating this surface with that back wall of the squared hole. There we go. Click apply. That looks kind of funky, but let me close this. And again, the trick, I like to move this around to make sure I know which degrees of freedom I still need to get rid of. So I'm going to go to mate again, click on this surface, and I'm going to line it up with this one here. There it is. Apply, close. Again, move this out of the way so you can see what you still need to constrain. I'm going to go to mate. I'm going to click on this top surface here with this wall. That's going to be mated. Apply, and that should be good. The next thing we can do is kind of the exact same thing we just did, right? We have two of these dowel rods, two of these followers, so it's going to be mate. Click on this guy, and click on here. Apply. I'm going to move this out of the way, constrain this with that wall. Apply. And then last but not least, again, let's move this out of the way. This with this right here. Apply and close. All right, we should be pretty familiar with that mate constraint now, with the speaker box and the Lego assignment that we did. Now what we need to do is actually have these, because they're kind of facing the wrong way, right? They should be kind of up and down vertically. we're going to do that by constraining them to the guide, right? The dowel rods to the guide. That's going to be quite easy, I think. All we need to do is make sure that we know which surface we're clicking on here and which one we're clicking on with the guide. If we, forget that, then we might make a mistake as far as the orientation of this follower. This is going to have to be long ways with, let's see, what is that axis? The z-axis. Okay, it's going to have to go back and forth this way with the long way of the follower. So we have to make sure that we insert it the correct way by going to mate. I'm going to click on this right here, and I know that that's going to be kind of like my right side, left side. So that's going to be this wall here. If we look at the box, we know that this is the left side, this is the right side of the box. So if I'm clicking on this, I'm knowing that that's going to be my right side. What I'm going to click on is this right side wall. There it is. Click apply. And then we just have to do one more constraint, and that's going to be this right here. This is going to be kind of like the back, right? So that's going to be aligned up with this back wall, right? We clicked on the right side wall before. Now it's going to be the back wall. There it is, and look at that. Now it's facing right side up. Click apply, and you can actually just move that down. It'll go right through the box for you. That's good. We're going to do the exact same thing with this one. So if you missed it, here it is again. I'm going to click on this surface here. I know that that's going to be technically like my right side, left side. So I want to click on the right side or left side of the wall here of the guide. I'm going to click on this one. Click apply. And then one more time, now this surface here, that's kind of like my back or my front. And I'm going to mate that with this wall. Click apply, close that out, and we can just drop that right in. We are almost done. I know this is a long video, but we are almost done. We just have the cranks to mate onto the dowel rods. So what we can do is we can go to constrain, and again, it's just going to be a mate. I'm going to click on this surface here, and then this surface here. Click apply. Again, kind of a trick. I like to move it out of the way, and then I'm going to go ahead and constrain this wall here with this surface here. There it is. Apply. We're going to do the same exact thing. So if you missed it, here it is again. I'm going to constrain this surface, mate constraint, with, say, let's do this surface. There it is. Apply, close, and then one last one is going to be constrain, mate constraint right here with the bottom here. Apply and close. All right, so now we are just going to be doing one more thing where we have to line this up so then we can add a transitional constraint here. We want it right underneath. We want this dowel rod this cam right underneath the follower. In order to do that, we're going to do a mate offset. So it's still a mate constraint. We're just going to offset over. So the way we do that is I'm going to go to constrain, just a regular mate. I'm going to click on this surface here and then this surface of the wall. When I do that, you'll see that it moves it right on top of it. But then I can just punch in a number here to offset it. So let me get to the back view so I can see, let's see, what happens if I type in 0.25. Oh, no, way too short. So 0.5. No, 1.5. Just playing around, 1.75. I think that is the dimension that we definitely need. So 1.75 is the dimension that we'll offset here. I'm going to click apply. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing over here by mating this surface here with this wall. Click there, and then just offset it, 1.75. Click apply, and then close that. So now we've eliminated all those, or that at least that side-to-side degree of freedom. When we rotate the crank, you can see that the cams do follow, which is great. Last thing that we have to do, and this one is kind of tricky. This sometimes does not work. So here, kind of just try to follow exactly what I do. I'm going to rotate this so that some part, the longer part of the oval cam is real close to my follower here. So I think that's really good. If it was kind of like this, I think that would be too far away. So rotating it so it's kind of pointing upward, that is good. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to bring the follower a little bit closer, like so. And then I'm going to go to constrain. When I go to constrain, we're actually going to move over away from assembly, and we're going to do a transitional. We're going to click on the transitional tab. And there's only one type of transitional constraint, so we don't have to do too much here. Just go over to the transitional tab, and then what we can do is we can click on the follower and then the cam. You can see it snaps on there. Click apply. Do the same thing over here, follower and then the cam, click apply. Close that up and let's check it out. Try to rotate the crank and you can see it works. That's great. I think that is it, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know, send me an email if you need any help, but check this video out. Hopefully this helps you with your assembly of your automata. We will see you in the next one. Thank you.